right, let's be honest. Wearing pants sucks. Why should we be stuck in stiff jeans crushing our family jewels? Well, those days are over thanks to Public Rec. They got the deal maker pants, and let me tell you, these feel like sweatpants but look like jeans. You get that 5-pocket style, but all the comfort that you need to go from work to play, no problem. These pants are made with their Workday 2.0 fabric. Wind and water resistant, so they're built to handle whatever you got going on. Clean, classic, and comfortable. These are gonna be your new everyday pants. I've been switching between the deal maker and the day maker pants, and I pair them with the go-to tee, and trust me when I tell you, it's the perfect fit. Plus, Public Rec will let you pick your exact size, waist, and length. None of that small, medium, large nonsense. And with 10 color options, you can find your perfect look. Stop suffering in regular pants. Right now, you get 20% off with code Chael at checkout. That's 20% at publicrec.com. Make sure you use code Chael at checkout. Or, to make it easier, just click below. Max versus Dustin. I know you guys love that. I know I don't need to sell you on that match. I do think that's the direction that it's going. I happened to be sitting with Dustin Poirier. He was 2 seats down when we were watching the broadcast from Abu Dhabi when Max called him out. And let me back up to that just in case you guys don't know. Right after Max fought Ilia Topuria is the press conference, and Max went to that press conference, right? Max is the last fight of the night. So this is right after, 20 minutes. Max called out Dustin Poirier. And there was so much on that I appreciated. First off, on a human level, I did not want Max to have post-fight depression and be down. For a couple of reasons. First off, he fought really well. Max fought really well. There was no problems with that fight. There wasn't some weight cut or a training issue or his cornerman missed the flight. That was the guy I used for inspiration. Like there was no excuse. He had a fair adjudication. But Max is also, at the time of the press conference, 20 minutes later, he's the reigning BMF champion. Max's next fight, should he want it to be, will be a title fight. So there was really nothing to be down about. There was a way, of course, I understand winning. I understand competition. I understand where that would hurt. But you're talking about reasons to be up. Yeah, Max might have missed his high, being world champion and beating Ilia Topuria and how important that was to him, but I'm talking about being down. I didn't want Max to be down. So I liked that he did the call out, but can you get the UFC on board? Because here's the ingredients that you're dealing with, okay? Dustin Poirier, who all of you guys love, versus Max, who all of you guys love. And it happens to be for a belt that we all love, known as BMF. Like, everything seems to work, but don't forget, you're not done. It's Dustin's last fight. Dustin would be the favorite to beat Max, based on the evidence that he has already beaten Max twice. And I don't want to give this fight a hard time. This is the fight I want. I'm trying to build this. But I want to be real fair and work through it accurately so we can find the right buttons to push if we want to manipulate the system as a community, right? It's not just that Max beat Dustin. Or I apologize, that Dustin beat Max in their last fight. It was a 5-round fight. That's 5 separate fights that are put into, right? I mean, do you agree with me? Have you ever seen a fight or ever been in a fight that lasts up to 5 minutes? Hell no. That'd be the longest fight you'd ever seen, right? Or that you'd ever personally been in. So they did 5 of those. Well, Dustin won all 5 of them. It was 5-0. So let's make a case for Max. Is Max better now than he was then? No. But is Max different? Yeah, he definitely could be. Yeah, you bet your ass he could be different. Because one thing that is different is Max is not playing at 55 before he goes back to 45. He is done at 45. He has made that commitment. He has absolutely closed that book. That's a big deal. And you'll never hear me act like 10 pounds is a lot. But from 45 to 55, it is. It's 7% of your body weight, 7.5% of your body weight. Top of my head there. So Max could be different by the time they fight again. Sure. There are things that he could do to change his physiology. Jon Jones talked to us and showed us how important that is. It's a massive part of the Jon Jones-Stipe fight that's being completely left out. You guys will find out when Stipe gets on the scale for that fight. He is 17 pounds of muscle bigger than the last time you saw him. That's a big deal. Really, really big deal. But those 17 pounds for a guy that's 250 represents about 7% of your body weight. So there's a real relevance to that. If it's good enough for Stipe, if it's good enough for Jon Jones, that same thing's got to apply to Max. So we don't fully know what they're getting into, but it's Dustin's last fight. And generally speaking, nobody's getting a title fight in their last fight, and that is nobody. Now, you could rig the system if you were the champion, for example. It's not to say you've never seen a last fight that was a title fight. Khabib's 29-0, just by example. George St. Pierre going up against Bisping, just for example. But it's not often, and it's not ideal for any promoter to do that or even to want to do that. A last fight, a title fight, and right, the entire point of my story, like if you're pretty sure that the belt's going to stay in-house, okay, fine. Well, in this case, we're pretty sure the belt's going back to Lafayette. Unless we're not. Right? I mean, if the UFC booked that fight, I feel that that would be a massive nod that the UFC believes Max could be different. That in and of itself might be the most interesting part of the story. That might be the part where you go, hey, wait a minute, these guys fought and it wasn't very competitive. You go, yeah, but the UFC thinks it will be this time. I don't know how else you would interpret that. Now, there is one other thing that you have to consider, right? We're never going to do a title fight on a guy's way out the door. Well, we're never going to do a title fight for a guy on his way out the door who is such a big favorite. Oh, by the way, has already done this not once, but twice. And in the second one, won every single round, unless we were trying to get rid of the title. That's a concern that I have. I do have that concern. When George Masvidal left, we did not think we would get a BMF belt. Now, there was a little more to that, which is the night that George fought for it and won it over Nate Diaz. Dana said, this is a one-time thing. There will never be a lineage. There will never be a defense for anybody. Don't even talk about the belt. It's a one-time thing. So when George did come back and George continued to fight, it wasn't really a question of, hey, Dana, where's the belt? Dana had already addressed that. For the smart marks in the room that were listening, Dana had already addressed that. So it was a real treat when we get out to Salt Lake and it's Dustin versus Justin and the BMF belt was on the line. Now, when I say they're trying to get rid of it, what could that mean? Because all we're doing is guessing right now, right, guys? We've got limited information. We're making our guesses on it, but the way I see it, it could mean two different things. One, trying to get rid of the belt. I can't imagine that the numbers don't support the emotion I have. I love it. I love the BMF belt. I think it is one of the most coveted belts, if not the most coveted belt, because of its rarity. For the same reason that the Olympic Games is more coveted than the World Championships. In case you guys don't know what that means, every single tournament, they hold the same tournament. It's the World Championship, every tournament. But every 4 years, they call that tournament the Olympics. All of those sports, all those events, all those competitors, they're competing every single year. Every fourth year, we call it the Olympics. So you see where that rarity makes it valuable. So I couldn't imagine that they were wanting to get rid of the belt. But it is something that we would have to guess. The other thing is, how do we move the belt? How do we move the belt? How would a heavyweight ever get a shot at the belt? I mean, if we start at 170, how would Valentina Shevchenko ever get a shot at that belt if we start with the men at 170 and there's only one of them? Well, one way to do it is to have a guy retire that's got it. That's how we got it to 155 pounds. The guy that had it in Masvidal retired. And I'm just suggesting for you that even if we're not right in the, but we're onto something. Do you see where it not only in most cases when it makes sense and when it happened, in this case, it might make the most sense. And it might be the very reason that Dustin versus Max Part 3 happens.